Hey, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things. It is paper pumpkin time. Hub came out early and ended up going to pick this up, so I did not have to do the drive. I'm sitting here in our campsite. Here's our trailer right here. And as you can see, the truck is filthy dirty. It is supposed to be black, but it just looks like some sort of dirt color. So we'll have to be washing it here soon. So stay tuned. I'm going to get inside and do a quick unboxing so I can get to work on alternatives. All right, I'm inside. I'm ready to get this unboxing done. We have a paper on what the fall edition is going to look like. It comes out. It'll be delivered in September. It's a dual purpose kit. It's their first ever autumn themed treat packages that are Halloween based, but then they have non-Halloween themed elements in the mix as well. So that's perfect. Spot Pacific Point. I don't think I've seen a kit with Pacific Point in it. It's one of my favorite bright colors. Have to save the tissue, of course. All right, what does our stamp set look like? It's a medallion, like a ribbon. A Medal of Honor type ribbon. You're the best. You deserve a medal. Teacher, kid, #1 friend, coach, world's greatest. We call for a, this calls for a celebration. I can see shaker foam rectangles. Oh, we have this fat ribbon. In the package, we've got 3 and look, they were very clever and used the inset of one of the foam rectangles to make pop-up dimensionals. 3 shaker frames, double-sided adhesive, lots of gold stars. Envelopes that have, the inside is not decorated, the outside top is, and there's 3 different designs. 3 of each, 3, 6, 9. Here's the windows for the shakers. And I'm going to guess that there's 9 card faces. What I like about these so far is I see double-sided, which means I get double the card fronts out of them. I believe we have watercolor wash stitched frames. Alright, so we have 6 of those elements. I think the last bit here are some vellum. I'm going to say these are laurel leaves or some such. And is what they look like. And the instructions are indeed for 9 cards. 3 different designs. So I'm gonna head off. I might be missing one. Let me look. I see something in here. It should be a metal foil medallion. Ah, here we go. So these are more frames. Again, using the full piece of cardstock available, cutting out 2 different elements. Okay. Oh, and I just did 2. Here's the 3rd one. Whole bunch of different sized rectangles and circles, and this is what I saw in the instructions. The gold foil seal, 3 trophies, and this was all buried inside between the 9 different card bases. So now I'm going to go away for a bit and contemplate some alternatives. It looks like a fun kit, a little bit different, off the beaten path, with the trophy medallion metal theme. I will probably be adding a stamp set of some variety for birthday and thank you. I'm guessing. I always guess and then half the time, so we'll see whether or not that's what I end up doing after I get all of the pieces going and decide. So stay tuned. Hey, I'm back. One of the comments I got last month was that this person wished they could see more of how I created my focal elements. I very rarely demonstrate the stamping and the layering of the focals, but in this particular case, I felt that if I had a little bit of difficulty with one of the stamping elements, that I should go ahead and demo how I work around that. And because it was requested that I show more of my process of building my focal layers, I thought that would be great. Now, one of the things I do is I always look for the coordinating colors. The coordinating colors for this month: Bumblebee Gold, Mint Macaron, Pacific Point, Soft Suede, and White. So I pulled out Soft Suede and Bumblebee, and I may or may not need any extra gold. This gold is a deep gold, so I would compare it to the brass, so that might come later if I feel I need that. So right now I want to talk about the stamping of the medallion element and the metal part, the hanging part of the metal. So when I stamped this image right here on the white circles, I had a very hard time. So the problem was with the centering, and I do own a Stamparatus. I just feel that there's probably a lot of people who don't have a stamping tool like that if they're a beginning stamper and they're buying the kits. So I wanted to talk about how I would work around a crooked stamp. So this took me 3 tries to get centered manually, just by hand, by eyeball. So what I would recommend, if you are newish to stamping, or like me are not the best of stampers, and so I've always used a tool. Even when I was very new at the second phase of stamping in my life, I bought a tool right off the bat because I was so frustrated at ruining cards and materials that I figured if I didn't figure out a way to stamp accurately, I was just going to have to find another hobby. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this, trying hard to get it centered, and then I'll talk about my workaround if it doesn't. I'd be surprised if it centers, since it took 3 tries to get it that way. But I will demonstrate. Now, this is a distinctive stamp, and one of the I guess the effects of using little tiny pixels like the distinctive stamps use is that if they get too clogged with heavy ink, you will find some blotching. I'm finding some blotching, and I haven't really addressed that, but how I would address it is taking a dauber and just patting it lightly to bring up some of the ink so that there isn't so much ink clogging the little pixels. I'm okay with this. This doesn't look, there's nothing wrong with how this looks to me. But I know that a lot of people are more particular about how the pixelizing comes out. So, for me to try to manually do this is, hopefully my hair doesn't get in the way, but I try to go, I look straight down, trying to look for equal amount of white around the circle, and then I go down very slowly so that I don't lose my location. And let's see how I did. Then I pick it up and it's going to stick, and I try to flick it off so that I don't get any smudges. Hey, and it did a great job of being off center. So I actually took a break. After I did this one, I stopped because I figured once I was in a roll, if I videoed right away, I probably would get it centered. So instead, I worked on an alternative solution for folks to work with so that I would forget how I made it centered. So this is crooked enough that I would admit it would bother me to have this be as crooked as it is. Where this one on the left is perfect. It is a little bit off, but not off enough to bother me. So with that in mind, I'm not a fussy cutter as a rule, but I figured I could fussy cut pretty quickly and get rid of this extra white, and you couldn't easily stamp in a circle or cut in a circle and make it look right. So instead, I would be wanting to mimic the ruffles, and because the goal is to put the circle on the blue, it really looks off center when you put it on the blue and it's as off center as this is. This bothers me. So I went ahead and very quickly cut. I want white because you could go edge to edge if you were putting this on white, but because you're putting it on a blue circle, you need to have a little bit of the white showing. So all I'm doing, and I hope that you can see this, is I'm just cutting shallow divots. And I won't do the whole thing, but I'm just showing you so that there's just a little bit. And then if it's too sharp, like this one is a little bit sharp for me, I just cut it off. So overall, I'm looking for an edge like that all the way around. And here is one that's completed for you to look at. And I could even take the tips off if I was really being particular. But for the demonstration, you can see how now there's equal amount of white all the way around. So when you put it on the blue, it looks much better than when it's stamped crooked. So that's one technique that I think would help people. The next is, here's the trophy. I went ahead and pulled 2 complementary colors, Bumblebee and Soft Suede, and the samples show you stamping this on blue, but because I know it really would be engraved, I'm going to go ahead and break out my Soft Suede and show you how I would stamp on the trophy. And I am going to pick, I haven't even picked my stamp to use. So you have World's Greatest to stamp in the center. This is photopolymer, so it's best if you stamp on a soft cushion surface. So say a magazine would be good. I use, if you have a closed cell foam type of a mat, this happens to be a Stampin' Up, I think it's a piercing tool or piecing tool, and you could stamp on this. But in case you didn't have a tool like this and you were just looking for things around your house, a magazine would be perfect. Even here is also a good idea. This would be plenty soft enough, just a post-it note stack. So maybe we'll use that. We'll just use what some average person might have kicking around at home. Okay, so we're gonna do World's Greatest. Perfect. See, and I really like that over the blue. Then, in the bottom here is where you pick. You've got friend, coach, teacher, kid. I'm going to do friend. I was thinking too, for if you are kind of at a loss of what to do with this card set, I showed horses for years. I did 4-H with dogs, horses, cooked, did all sorts of crazy things in 4-H. And so this trophy would be really good if you have any of the sets that have to do with dogs or horses, and you could give it to somebody who maybe either has a dog that's a best friend, has recently won something with their pet. That would be another way to extend this kit with all of the different awards theme. But this I really like, and I'm going to do something with this. I have shown you how to deal with the rosette. And now I wanted to stamp, I haven't done this yet, so this is just showing you, some of my thoughts on stamping as I go. Let's try to stamp the metal and see how that turns out. And then I will go back to the drawing board. I'm kind of curious how the pixeling comes out on this metal, the hanging part. And again, I just lift and peel it off. So that came out, this was really easy to center. I like how that came out. So there's no need for me to sponge off any of the ink to eliminate the blotchiness. This looks really good. So what's going to go on here, I believe, is something like this. Now, I wish that this top part would be gold, maybe bumblebee, and this metal piece would be gold. So if we wanted to get really fancy, I would break out the Many Marvelous markers, and I would do my best to stamp this middle part blue, and then go ahead and use bumblebee along the top and bumblebee to get these gold elements to look gold. So whether or not I'm going to go that far, that's just another thought. So those are kind of my initial thoughts of how I would maybe do more coloring, more advanced, as well as different, the whole pet or competition theme with your pets. Any sports that you do, if you have stamp sets with the different sports terminology, this set would be really good with. And I'm going to go away now and do more thinking and on the alternatives, and if anything else comes to mind to show you along the way, I will come back and show you. All right, I am back. I have a whole bunch of alternatives ready, and I came up with a couple more tips on stamping as well as making fishtail banners. I will apologize now for the noise. There's car races right by where we are currently camped, and Hub is over there doing some computing, so we'll see what kind of noise comes across on the new camera I have. So I tried to zoom in closer so you can see the biggest thing with stamping these small shapes that we have been provided, and every month of course they're a little different. I like to stamp on a dark surface. I already showed you the piercing mat, but I forgot to mention to have it on a dark surface so it contrasts. So if I were stamping on this surface, it would be difficult for me to see where the center is when I'm looking through, you know, with one of these stamps. I would possibly have a problem finding a center. So I think, and then if you'd like, I have one of these cutting mats, and you can use the lined side. I tend to like the plain side. You can use the piercing mat. That's a dark gray or another sponged surface, that just as long as there's a contrast. So I have a couple more that I want to make stamped items, and I thought, nope, I'm going to make them on video here. And so typically my camera's in the way, but I would look straight down. On a circle, it's nice because even if you get it a little crooked, you can rotate it. So there's World's Greatest. And I have one more I wanted to stamp. And then I'm going to go right into the mix and matching of the various alternatives, of which these that I'm stamping now I will be using. Again, I let it be sticky, and then I just pop it off. Okay, so those are those. And then fishtails. I have a warning on this blue that I discovered with making the fishtails. You will see that it does show white. There are white threads, and that is going to be important in a minute. But here's how I do fishtails, and I might have demoed this in the past. This is how my team leader's leader taught me. I take my snips and I snip in the center as far as I want the fishtail to go in, and then I do half angle, half angle, done, fishtail done. I just think that that is the easiest way. It's kind of like when I was first shown, if you've ever done bunny ear trim bows. It's so much easier than trying to wrap the knot. So this is the other half of the fishtail. This just gives a really good control. And what I have discovered is you don't want to overcut. You would rather undercut than come in and try to snip that little bit off. If you need to, you can even come back this way to snip it off. And very small snips, because overcuts will show. See, like that's an overcut. I try to avoid those. And that is what a not very good side looks like. Okay, so now let's take that same strategy, and I want to make a fishtail on either end of this blue trim. So I'm going to snip it in the middle. And in this case, because of the way the material is, the end of my snips aren't sharp enough. So I have to cut in. But don't go too deep. Watch as you go. I need to go a little further. Okay, so I think both sides are even. Now, snipping the middle. What I discovered with this, I'm going to show you one that I did that did not work out. I snipped too far across and too far across, so the middle fell out and it shows the mistakes. So this is not going to be a very good ribbon to use. So let's see if I can get this right and show you at the same time. So I'm going toward the middle, and it's a fabric, so it's a little bit different than cutting on paper. I see, and I overcut. Let's see if I can salvage this. So you're watching as I cut. Nope, that came out okay. It's not perfect, but better than the other one was. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time, and hopefully you can see. Let's see if I do this. I'm changing the light. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so this should be a good example. I'm sorry if the first one was not. Okay, so see how it's just, oh, I did it perfect. That is what you want. So let's see. I'm going to come back in on this side. Snip a little. Oh, and it came off perfectly. So when you go in and you're almost there, it might work best to come back across and do just a little bit further in your snip to get that nice fishtail. So this fishtail came out very nice. Not perfect, but way better than this 1/2 that I failed and overcut. And to see those up close, that's what they look like. This one's the bad one. This one over here is the good one. Good one, bad one. All right, so those are my tips. Now I'm going to bring down some focals and some backgrounds. So I ended up, because of the sentiment that says it is time to celebrate, I decided I would see if I was satisfied just using this kit with some solid cardstock to supplement. So that is what I've done. I'm not sure how many examples I have in the end. One of the early ones I did, it has 2 pieces to it. I did this nice focal. Then I accidentally kind of put it, this was a spare piece I had, and it just like ended up sitting on there, and I thought, ooh, that's a good idea. And then I added, for a base, let me get an extra white. So this is a full-size white A2, and the blue strip is full height, and I can end up, when I tape it down, I think I will make sure that these vellum pieces are not overlapping too far. And what I could do if I wanted more is, there's a whole baggie full of these stars. So I could apply, I'm just going to randomly toss them on here. Something like that. And I will photograph all of these. I hopefully will remember all of these that I am showing you now. So there's a completed idea. And I'll try to get all these photographed for the showcase at the end. I'm not sure if I need this one next. So here's a fun focal that works by itself, and I have a couple of different examples of how you can put it on with some other layers. This also looks really nice. If I can sneak this out of the layer I've already started. You could easily put it on a matted yellow with a white border. In fact, I think I like it better on the bumblebee is the color that I put it on. So that's another idea. I also wanted to show, if I go back to here, I do have this in all blue. If someone didn't have any of the other colors. And the technique that I used to color this was using the Stampin' Up markers. I tried the metal pieces in Bumblebee, but they just didn't look right. So I did it again in soft suede, and that's the color there. And then I did the stamp You Deserve More, metal, sorry, in, I sponged the edge and did soft suede. So those are some different ways the metal strip looks. And then you saw me just stamp this, so I could just show you what that looks like. And I did pop this one up. So there's that one. I somewhere have buried, let me go ahead and bring out, I did two basic ones. First, you can see all my stamping down here, and that was to have a full background with the stamping You're the Best. You could easily then add on those pieces. Then you could add some stars. And you could just randomly toss them on and stick them with either a little bit of liquid glue or a tiny dot, or even a portion of a dot. Then, if I leave the gold on and the stars on, I created this focal. That's what gave me the idea of showing you how to do the fishtails, since this is like all fishtailed. These gold fishtails are actually this piece, half on each side, and I could have conserved the ends by just snipping them off and making my own fishtails to save all of this foil for another application. Okay, so that, I'm looking for my star, is another way that you can make this work. I then also wanted to show you, oh, there's the third star. Get that guy back out. That you could consider making a background and have this be on there. You would have to probably move around. I did these really close together. You could add more white space. Next, let's say we just take this. So there's all sorts of ways that you can take that rosette and do backgrounds with it, is ultimately what I am showing you. All right, next simple design is this one. I just added the metal at the top, and this calls for celebration, and then you can also dress it up. You can say, this is what this looks like, simple. Though I already had said I like it better on the bumblebee. I haven't tried this yet. This little guy, I actually envisioned, I haven't put it together yet, but having this focal have number one friend with friend popped up. So that one is kind of in the works. Okay, so the next, using again a different all medallion background, is this guy. This is actually trimmed down so that a little bit of a white border shows. All right, and the things that you can put on it. You can, now where did all my circled blue, here we go. You're going to see a little bit of a difference in the whites. This is the Whisper White, but it's not too bad. Then we have Friend, and these could be popped up, and you could add the foil underneath. World's Greatest Friend. And then I have this fancier one. I like this. This is a really good masculine card. Okay, so that concludes ideas using the, and then I still have the other piece right here. Next, oh, and I want to do one more with this. There we go. I like this a lot. And then I also like it even better when you put it on Bumblebee. So I like this a lot. And you could add some stars. I have a third one floating around here. Here's one. Put one here. Kind of by the W. I really like the World's Greatest Friend trophy. I think that's awesome. And I want to keep that. I will remove this background for the moment. And I want to show you, this one is mini layers. I went ahead and trimmed down this piece by 1/8. So you can actually get quite a few layers out of the deal by just adding some solid colored cardstock. And I really liked this one a lot. And I would add some depth to one more of the layers, like maybe the honeybee stitched, which I just pulled out of my stash. It was already ready to go. So that, I think, is a great layout. Now I have a little bit more elaborate focal with a few different ideas for it. I wanted to see, I haven't checked this out yet. Oh, I hear it now. The races are done and now it starts to rain. I am going to do one switch. I'm not fond of that. See, this is what I do. I just sit here and play with things until I like it. I have to offset it because I've got these vellum pieces off the side. Yep, so I really like that. This would also probably look really good on a piece, let's see if I can find it, of the blue plaid. But I don't have one of the full cardstock pieces. I only have the half that I showed you. So, all sorts of things you could do with this one that I really like. Now, I have one more focal. Here's what this looks like. And these vellums need to get kind of moved around as needed. I think I want to something like that with the stars. Would look really pretty. Well, or cool. And most of these are masculine. Even with the vellum, I think you could get away with using it as a masculine card. All right? And then the cool thing is that you can use the medallion for any of these various sentiments. Even this number 1. I'm looking for the friend. I have buried my friend. The word friend, I think, on here with the fishtail somewhere would be nice. And then what I really made this for, the You're the Best with the vellum, is actually meant for my shaker card. So I made a shaker. What I found about this shaker is that it is quite large. I will show you. So you have a lot of area to fill. So this is the shaker bit. And having all of that space to fill, I really liked that layout for the shaker. And another layout that I thought was good for the shaker was this, World's Greatest Friend, I think, with the gold to just kind of fill up that extra space. And that concludes this month's Paper Pumpkin Alternatives. I will go ahead and get things moved around, take lots of showcase pictures of the mixes and matches that I tried to demo. Hopefully I don't miss any. I might end up adding some as I'm taking the photos, and that should give you guys all sorts of ideas. Again, the only thing that I needed in addition for this kit was the different solid colored cardstock. The Whisper White, Pacific Point. One of the colors is mint macaron, and I didn't even feel the need to add the mint macaron, but if you were to want to be using this kit to the fullest extent possible, you've still got the mint macaron. And then the envelopes I didn't even use because I'm going to go ahead. They're A2 size, which I love. They're really high quality. And I didn't feel the need to cut any of the tops off to use, because I'm going to go ahead and when I put these together, there actually are 3 different envelopes of 3 different designs, and so I will match the cardstock to these 9 envelopes, and then we'll supplement with some plain Whisper White ones. So I hope you enjoy this paper pumpkin as much as I did. Please leave your comments, suggestions, and questions in the comments. Love to get comments from you all. And I will see you next month. Thanks for watching. Before you go, I have a special offer to extend. If you subscribe to Paper Pumpkin with me as your demonstrator, you will receive free perks. For details, go to my website at stuffandthings.com/pp. I am happy to answer any of your questions or concerns via email, phone, or text. Before you go, please like this video, leave your comments, questions, and suggestions, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more Stampin' Up! Paper Pumpkin alternatives.